How's it going, everybody? Tyler Bender back here with some more League of Legends World content. It is the first weekend of the group stage, and what a weekend we had, guys. Very surprising showings from some teams, some good, some bad. We'll get more into that, but let's run it down the groups first. We're going to start with Group A, and Group A is G2, Suning, Machi, and Team Liquid. For the standings, we got G2 at 2-0, Suning at 1-1, Machi at 1-1, and Team Liquid at 0-2. G2 doing just as good as everybody thought they would. For my predictions, they're the only Western team that I have to be at the top of the group, and as of now, they're the only Western team to be at the top of the group. Their first game against Suning was an absolute banger. Listen to this. Suning took the Ocean Soul around 30 minutes. G2 won a fight around Elder and got Baron around the 37-38 minute mark. They tried to push the base. Suning defended it. Now Suning marched it down the mid lane, tried to push it into G2's base. They lost the fight inside of G2's base. Perkz TP'd to the super minions, pushing in to Suning's base and got the Nexus by himself as the Ezreal. But the most interesting part about this game and why I thought it was so incredible from G2 and the way that they played is they didn't take the tier 1 mid tower until 40 minutes into the game, and they didn't even push it themselves. The minion wave that they pushed out took it by itself. They weren't even there to actively take it. It was a great showing from them and how they like to play around the side lanes. I thought it was an incredible performance. Absolute banger. Suning is doing just fine, though. Do not discount that loss against G2 and that sort of throw against them as a bad sign. They are doing just fine at 1-1. Machi beat Team Liquid early on, but I do believe that Team Liquid can win the next time around. It is kind of a rocky showing from them so far, but I think give them a little bit of time to adjust to the groups meta, not the play-ins meta, and they'll be just fine. Let's take it over to Group B. That is Damwon, JD, Rogue, and PSG Talon. As the records stand right now, Damwon is at top at 3-0, JD is at 2-1, Rogue at 1-2, and PSG Talon at 0-3. Damwon, 3-0. They are here to play. They have put their foot on the gas pedal in the LCK playoffs. They took it to DRX, and they've shown up to Worlds with the gas still going. Showmaker leading the way in the mid lane in the world right now with a 29 KDA average, meaning that he dies less than once per game. Of course, we've only played 3 games, but he's netting about 8 to 9 kills and assists per game, and he leads the tournament in that. Showmaker, of course, is probably is in contention for the best mid laner in the world right now, and he is proving that he should be the best mid laner in the world. JDG playing, JD Gaming, of course, playing really well as well. They're at 2-1. Their only loss is to Damwon. They're still showing that they still are the same JDG team. Rogue surprised me a little bit with the win over PSG Talon, and I thought it was a little bit of a cheese win, not to say that they didn't deserve it, because they could have easily lost that game in the mid game. They played it super well. Tank, the mid laner for PSG Talon, was ganked by Hansama and Vander, the bot lane for Rogue, twice in the first 4 minutes of the game, including a level 1 gank right as the minions came together, as the wave crashed, and a level 3 gank after Hansama and Vander pushed the wave in. They roam back up and get Tank caught out in between his tier 1 and his tier 2 tower and kill him again. They snowballed that lead from there. Again, they could have easily lost it in the mid game, but Rogue with a good showing that once they get a lead, they know how to keep it. But if they fall behind like they did against JD Gaming and Damwon, they have a very, very hard time. PSG not showing up as I thought they would. I thought that with their full roster back as River, the jungler, and Tank, the mid laner, are able to play now, I thought that they would hold a good shot against the teams in their group. But they seem to be falling behind in the early game quite often. Here's a statistic for you. Through the 3 games that they've played, they've only taken 1 tower and 2 drakes. That 1 tower was off of Rogue. They have not taken a tower off of JD Gaming or Damwon. To be honest, I think they played better with Kongwei and Uniboy, the jungle mid duo that they had as their subs in the play-ins. They just seem to provide more presence around the map. Not to say that River isn't roaming around the map as he should be, but he doesn't seem to be as aggressive as Kongwei was, and it doesn't seem to be opening up their lanes as much as Kongwei did it. But this group has finished their first rotations. Each team will play each other one more time. I do expect PSG Talent to get at least one win against Rogue, but with the way they've been playing, that's super questionable. Let's take it over to Group C. That is Gen G, Fnatic, LGD, and TSM. The records as they stand are Gen G at 2-0, Fnatic at 1-1, LGD at 1-1, and TSM at 0-2. Gen G performing just as everybody thought they would. This is the group that I have put the closest together in terms of records. An absolute banger of a game to start their Worlds run for Gen G against LGD. 45-minute game. Both teams got the full build. Clint and BDD showing that they are a very strong jungle mid duo in that game who can scrap it out with just about anybody. Gen G on a roll. LGD, they've turned it on since the play-in stage, and they've returned to form. Their objective issues seem to be solved. Peanut, when he plays Kindred, has only lost one game so far. That was to Gen G, and Kindred seems to be the solution for this team. They had problems around objectives and knowing how to fight around the objectives, knowing they had a lot of split calls, but with the Kindred, it seems that they have to focus on the objectives, and they've come back to form. Kindred is the answer for this LGD team. They seem to like to play the double marksman comp anyways. If they don't pick the Kindred, they'll pick the Graves. And if they stick to that, I don't think they'll have any problems. Just Peanut, no Lee Sin. The Lee Sin is not the answer in Worlds right now. There have been a couple Lee Sins played, and he's not the answer. The scaling jungle are the way, or the scaling junglers are the way right now. Don't pick the Lee Sin, please. Fnatic holding their weight as expected. TSM fell behind early, but it's not too alarming. They should be fine once the second rotation come around. They still look like the same old TSM. Game against Fnatic was a little rocky. They should be just fine once they get to play every team one more time. And Group D, the last group, the group of death. Top Esports, FlyQuest, DRX, and Unicorns of Love. The records are Top at 2-0, FlyQuest at 1-1, tied with DRX at 1-1, and UOL at 0-2. Top dominating as they should. Their entire team has been performing so well, but no one player stands out, and no one player stands out negatively, right? They all stand out, or they don't stand out at all, positively or negatively. Everybody's been playing up to their expectations, just right up to that line. And in fact, I think everybody's been playing over it a little bit. They've been doing super, super well, showing why they were the best team in the LPL and showing why they should be the best team in the world this year. Let's talk about FlyQuest, though. Let's talk about FlyQuest, the third seed from the LCS, the second seed from the LCS. Absolutely stole a game from Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love have everything they needed to win. They just took a couple bad fights in the mid game, which is funny because they got that lead off of FlyQuest taking a couple bad fights as it started to transition into the mid game. But Unicorns of Love lost their lead, and then they made a bad call around the Baron, absolutely threw it. FlyQuest got the lead, did not let it go from there. DRX still showing that they are strong, but their weaknesses from the LCK are kind of bleeding over. Their team really revolves around Chovy. And if Chovy can't get ahead, then they don't really do much. That's just kind of the way they draft, and it's also kind of the way they play. He takes up a lot of resources. So if they can get Chovy to start winning lane more, I mean, Chovy always wins lane, but he doesn't necessarily get fed every time. If they can get Chovy to get fed and start snowballing games, they'll be just fine. If not, they need to find a way to adjust. They need to find a way to adapt so that it's not just Chovy leading the charge on this DRX team. Unicorns of Love, like I said, threw that game against Fly, but I don't think we have anything to worry about just yet. They still look like a strong early game team. They're still forcing objectives and forcing plays early. They just need to kind of calm down and start to try to control the mid game as they were in the play-in stage. Once they get that lead, they need to hold on to it. They need to play cool and calm, not hyper and anxious all the time, even when they do have the lead. I think once we see them return to that form and kind of settle down like they did in the play-in stage, they will be just fine. So that was the first 3 days of Worlds. The only group to finish the first rotation was Group B. Day 4, which is coming very shortly, we'll see every other group finish their first rotation. I expect G2, Top, and Gen G to remain undefeated after this rotation, so that the 4 undefeated teams will be G2, Damwon, Gen G, and Top. There are still plenty of games ahead of us, so stick around for some more great content because the best is yet to come. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and until next time, I'll see you guys around.